So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sharad Smith from the Knowledge Transfer Network, and I'm the Knowledge Transfer Manager for Diversity and Inclusion. I'd like to welcome you to the first in the series of the Women in Innovation Building Success webinars, in which we'll explore the importance of marketing strategy and planning. Before we begin, I'll just quickly run through some housekeeping. So when everyone joins, everyone's microphone was muted. It will remain muted throughout the webinar. If you have a question, and there will be a Q&A at the end, please submit this in the Q&A box. I'll read these out at the end, and Anna-Marie will have a chance to answer them. If you've got a technical issue, please comment them in the chat box, and I'll be on hand to assist with any of them. The webinar, as you've probably just heard, will be recorded and it will be made available via email afterwards, along with the slides. As I mentioned, this is the first in the series, so if you'd like to hear more about forthcoming webinars, I'd encourage you to sign up for the Women in Innovation newsletter via KTN's website or join the Women in Innovation community group on the World Labs platform, or you can keep an eye on the KTN's event pages. Now, I'd like to introduce Anna-Marie Taylor, who will be delivering the webinar for us today. So Anna-Marie Taylor is a strategic marketing and digital media consultant with over 30 years experience working with B2B and B2C clients. As founder of Taylor Communications, Anna-Marie works with a range of businesses from tourism to health, property to technology, helping companies define their brand, develop key messages, build an online audience, and identify the digital channels that align with their business strategy and reach their target market, analysing and measuring activity along the way. Anna-Marie works with businesses to develop strategic marketing campaigns that really work, create engaging content, develop a suite of digital communication tools, and create targeted marketing campaigns. She also advises on search engine optimization, pay-per-click advertising, online and offline marketing campaigns, blogs, social media, website development, and digital marketing analytics. So over to you, Anna-Marie.
After that mouthful, Sharad, thank you for your introduction, and good afternoon to everyone on the webinar. As Sharad mentioned, I run my own marketing consultancy, Taylor Communications. I'm very active online. I've been a marketing manager myself for quite a number of years and went out on my own, started my own consultancy a couple of years ago. I work predominantly with SMEs and startup companies, and I deliver on a couple of accelerator programs. So I feel your pain. I know what it's like. It's hard when you're sitting out on your own. The word marketing scares the life out of a lot of people. They don't know where to start. They don't know how to take it to the next stage. So hopefully today I'll give you a bit of an insight into where you need to go and how you need to get that off the ground and how to get a sort of an outline marketing plan in place. So some of the things that we're going to look at today, we're going to look at what is marketing and how does it add value to your customer groups. What are the key elements of a successful marketing strategy? We're going to have a look at the marketing mix, marketing channels, and how to create an effective marketing plan. I've tried to keep the jargon out of this as much as I can, but as Sharad says, if there's any questions or if there's anything you don't understand, please put it into the chat and we'll have a chat about it at the end. So, what do we mean by marketing? So starting with the jargon, the Chartered Institute of Marketing, who are the trade body for the industry, say it's the management process responsible for identifying, anticipating and satisfying customer requirements profitably. Which I think to myself, what does that mean? So to me, it's about identifying your customers' needs and wants and promoting your company's goods, services or processes, depending on what you offer, to a target market to meet these needs and wants. If you really clearly understand what's driving your customers, what they really, really want, your product and all your marketing promotion around that should address those. So we're going to talk a lot about that today. So marketing is at the core and it's instrumental to growing a successful business. I meet a lot of companies in my day-to-day work where I'm delivering workshops or I'm working on a one-to-one base where they say, we don't really know what marketing is. Is that a bit of social media? Is that about having a website? It's not really. It's about putting it at the core of your business. The most successful businesses are market-led. So the question that you should have is, how do you make your business market-led? Research has to be fundamental to the whole process. You need to research your market and understand your customers inside and out. You need to also understand the external and internal factors that affect and influence how they buy or how they engage with your brand. You need to understand your customers' needs and wants, as we said earlier, and you need to provide products and services that the market actually demands, not something that you think is a good idea, but something that the market actually wants. So how does marketing influence your business strategy? It touches so many parts of your business. It looks at your pricing model, it looks at your sales process, it looks at how you actually communicate externally, it looks at your routes to market, how you're going to get your product or service out into that marketplace, and it looks at how you engage your customers. Marketing is at the core of all of those elements. So what defines what you're good at? Brand development, creating a really strong brand that positions you as the go-to expert in your sector, or you could be a Me Too product, but you still need to differentiate yourself. And you also need to use the right communication channels that engage your customers. And it's not just customers, it's partners, it's future employees, it's your wider networks. So this is not just about finding new customers. This is about influencing lots of different people who can tell your customers that you have the best product, service, whatever to buy. So we're now going to give we're now going to have a look at all of these elements in a little bit more detail. What do you need to consider before you actually start creating a great marketing strategy? We've got research as number one. You need to research your market to identify the customer's challenges, needs and wants. I meet lots of businesses. I met a company a couple of weeks ago who came to me with a pretty good market idea for a bike. And the guy said, my social media is not working for me. I keep putting this product on Facebook and nobody's buying. And my question back to him said, well, who's your customer? Have you actually done some research with your marketplace? Do you know who's your type of customer? So he's defined his customer as the cycling market, but actually his customer are parents, families who have lots of bicycles. So doing your research is key. You need to clearly define your target market to identify the customers and partners you want to engage with. So when you're doing this, you need to look at who your decision maker is. So who's the person that's got a budget in their pocket that can actually buy for your product? But who are all the influencers in the chain? So the person that has the budget might be the finance director, but the person that you need to engage with in that organization is possibly the procurement manager and the engineering manager or the tech manager or the marketing manager. So there's lots of different people who could potentially be your influencers, and you need to define your target market. What's your USP, your unique selling point? Everyone on this webinar should know what makes you different, what makes you stand out from your competition. But you also need to know your competition. Again, I meet a lot of companies that say to me, I have no competition, but everyone has competition. So someone is buying an alternative to what you have to offer just now. You need to know who those people are. You need to understand their business. What makes them different? What are they selling as their USP? What's their price point? How do they engage their customers? You really need to know that inside out. You then need to develop clear, descriptive messaging that communicates your value proposition to your customers in a language they understand. Sorry, that might sound a little bit jargony, but what I mean is, if you met Richard Branson in a lift, what would you say to him? What makes your brand stand out from the rest of the marketplace? You need to be able to describe it clearly, descriptively, and in a language that people understand. And in this day and age where digital marketing is key, you need to have an excellent website. People check out your website before they get in touch. I meet a lot of people who say to me, somebody just picked up the phone to me. They'll have had a look at your digital presence before they've actually picked up that phone. They'll have made some sort of a decision before they take the next steps. So you need to make sure you have an excellent website. And having a Facebook page is not enough. You need to have a website. It doesn't take a lot to build one. You can build one yourself for 50 quid. So keep that in the back of your mind. And then you need to identify the communication channels that your customers are on and go to them. If your customers engage at events, you need to work out which ones they're going to be at, and you need to make sure you're there. If your customers are really active on LinkedIn, you need to be active on LinkedIn. Don't expect your customers to come to you. You need to go to them. So we're now going to look at the marketing mix. This again was defined by Kotler years ago, when I was back at uni. And to get your marketing mix right, you need to look at all the elements. For years, there've only ever been 4 elements in the marketing mix, the 4 Ps we've probably all heard about. But now we're seeing some additional factors, such as people and processes, that also influence the mix. And we're going to look at each of these elements in a lot more detail. So product. Having the right product and the right elements of your product to satisfy your customers' needs and wants is critical to your marketing strategy. It's very difficult to get customers to buy a product that isn't what they want. So you have to do your research. You need to understand your customers. You need to create a unique or a me too product that meets their demands, back to that needs and wants. And these are all the elements of the products you need to consider as part of that product or service development. So the quality, so where are you positioning your product in the marketplace? Is it the creme de la creme quality? Is it very high quality? Or are you the lowest quality in the marketplace? And that will affect lots of different decisions that you make about your product or service. What's your image? How do you want to come across to your customers? Are you forward thinking? Are you technology? Are you out there? Or are you a nice product? Are you something that is clean? Is it clear? Your image should reflect what your product's all about. What brand are you going to put out there in the marketplace? How do you want to be seen? What's your personality of your brand? What's your brand values? It's very important as part of your marketing strategy to have a brand strategy. And your brand should affect all of your marketing, including your digital marketing. What are your product or service features? So what are the elements of that product that you want to try and get across? Clearly define those features. So we talk a lot about features and benefits in marketing. So you define what those features are and what's the benefit of each of those features. Any specific variants of your product. So is there something in particular that you buy the core product and there's a variant that's an add-on? Again, clearly defined, clearly set out on your channel that you're going to sell that product or service on. What's your customer service? How are you going to look after your customers during the sales process or after the sales process? And what support do you actually provide to that customer? Is there a help desk service? Do you have an Autobot on your site, which is the wee people that pop up down the bottom right-hand side? You see it in a lot of the mobile phone sites or your energy suppliers. What's your availability? So will you only support those customers Monday to Friday, 9 to 5? Have that clearly identified. Make sure that's in your terms and conditions. And what are your warranties? Do you offer some sort of guarantee? And if so, clearly define it. Make sure your customers know what that is. So promotion, the sort of exciting part of marketing, as I would call it. These are the marketing strategies you employ to get your product to market or your service to market. There's lots of different elements to consider, and these need to be planned in a structured marketing and campaign plan to ensure you can resource them and have the infrastructure and budget in place to execute them, ensure they engage with your customers in the right way. Don't be frightened if you run a promotional campaign and it doesn't work. I've done that lots over the years. We think, well, let's run a big advertising campaign. You spend a lot of money on it and it doesn't work. That's all about defining your customers, really understanding your customers. Treat them like a person. You're trying to engage those people. One thing that you should note, and one of the key things to take away from this webinar today, is you need to touch someone 3 times before they will engage. So what do I mean by that? I mean, you need to engage them in 3 different ways to actually get them to make a decision. So a lot of people go along to events, they take an exhibition stand and they meet someone, take a business card, and they think by sending them an email afterwards that person's made a decision. They won't. They'll have met you at an event, you'll have followed them up by an email, and you need to touch them again. So you might need to think about an email campaign or sending something to them on social media or connecting with them on LinkedIn. So there's lots of different ways of doing it. But you need to make sure that you do that 3 times to ensure you get the best engagement with that customer, because they're making a decision every time that they engage with your brand. So let's have a look at some of these types of promotional campaigns for offline marketing. So what do I mean by offline marketing is everything that's not digital marketing. So that could be events, it could be a demonstration, it could be telemarketing, it could be print advertising. So there's lots of campaigns. We've seen that for lots and lots of years, and it still works. People think that they only should be moving to digital marketing, but in a lot of instances, a lot of customers still want to engage in an offline capacity. Sales promotional messaging and material. So that's discounts, coupons, engagement campaigns that you really get somebody to come on board. You see it a lot on clothing and fashion brands where it pops up on the site, on a website, and it says 20% off your first order. Great ways of engaging people because you've got their email address already, and then you can start sharing content with them. Website and e-commerce, as I said earlier on, it's essential to have a website in this day and age of digital marketing. But it may not be a brochureware website you have. It could be an e-commerce platform because you're selling your product online or your service online. PR. So PR still plays a really fundamental piece in today's marketing, and one of the future webinars is going to be about PR. You need to look at whether it's national PR or whether it's trade PR. So by national press, I mean the Observer, the Times, the Guardian, but trade press could be specific publications in your specific sector. Branding, as I said earlier on, having a brand strategy that aligns to your promotion is key. So who are you? What are you trying to get across? What are your key messages? What do you want? What's your personality? What do you want people to see you as? Direct marketing is key in today's world as well. You see a lot of email marketing campaigns, direct flyers, mail drops, that sort of stuff, and digital communications. So that could be social media, it could be email marketing, it could be pay-per-click campaigns, it could be search engine optimization. So there's lots of different types of digital communications that you can use to engage your customer. That's the second one in our marketing mix. The third one is price. This is actually one of the hardest things that people talk to me about. How do I set my price? It's so important to your business. If you pitch your product at a premium price and the quality doesn't reflect that price, or your customers won't pay that price for a product, it's very difficult to change it. Alternatively, you don't want to always be offering discounts, as this can devalue your business. Do your research, look at your competitors, ask people what they would be willing to pay for your product or service before you launch it. People are frightened to do that, but actually customers are actually, they're very engaging, and they will tell you, if you give them a pricing band and said, look, would you buy this product if it was between 100 and 150 pounds? They'll come back and tell you if they think it's too expensive. So positioning your price at the right level that covers your costs and you actually make a profit from you is key. You need to look at pricing ranges for some products. So some products, depending on what the features are and the various variants, might have a range of pricing schedules. So make sure you line that out at the beginning. Any discounts that you're going to offer, and that you don't have to have all your discounts set up at the beginning. You might run discounts as you run campaigns for your products. Any credit terms. So are you going to offer them 0% finance? Are you going to give them a buy now, pay later type scheme and have that all set up at your bank? And again, what payment methods are you going to use? Are you going to invoice for products, or will you use some sort of a credit card facility? So place, how are you going to sell your product? Again, one of the key decisions that you've got to make. If you're selling via multiple channels, you need to consider how you will service each of these channels, as the only method as one method may not be appropriate for all. Wholesalers and retailers may only engage face-to-face, whereas consumers are happy to buy online or via a shop. So you need to work out how you're actually going to sell your product and what platform you're going to use. For e-commerce, you need a robust, stable e-commerce platform on which you can sell your product or service. So you might use something like Shopify or BigCommerce. And if you're using a distributor to resell your product, you need to regularly provide them with marketing messages, material, sales presentations to sell your product and incentivize them. A distributor that has 5 or 6 products on their shelf won't necessarily sell yours. You have got to make sure you engage with them, and you've got to ensure you keep your marketing messages in front of them all the time. They're like another channel to market. People are essential to the success of any business, as you all know. Having the right people, the right culture, and the developmental opportunities in your business results in you building a very strong team of brand ambassadors, i.e. the people that are going to go out there and sell your brand for you. Don't fall into the trap that the salesperson can do marketing. God, I see this so many times where people take on a salesperson and they say, we'll just give him or we'll just give her marketing to do. But actually, there's a very small number of people who can do both and do it well. If a salesperson is chasing a sale and they're hungry for a sale and there's commission at the end of it, marketing is going to be dropped, and that's not great for your business. Marketing doesn't work if you do it for a short period of time and then forget about it and then come back to it 6 months later. When you go back to it 6 months later, you've got to really start all over again, because this is all about engaging customers, engaging partners, engaging your audience, getting your brand in front of people. So you need to make sure you do that regularly. So as I said earlier on, your marketing resource should be different to your sales. Customer service. So if you have a product that needs a customer service element of resource, you need to make sure you've got the right people in place for that. Not someone who's shy, because customers can, say anything to you and really take you to the wire. So make sure you've got somebody that's really strong. The culture in your business is so important. What type of culture do you feel that your business should have? So a lot of people do flexible working. They have bonus schemes for people. So something that actually incentivizes your people, but also a company where people can feel like themselves and have a laugh. So it's about getting that culture right. Don't always think you need to take on a marketing person full time. I recommend for a lot of my SMEs and startups that they maybe look at someone who's been in marketing and is taking a career break and wants to get back into it. Maybe doesn't want to work full time. So you can offer them flexible working, and that works really, really well. So that's maybe something to consider. Let people go on training courses. The one thing about marketing, and particularly digital marketing, this is a really fast-paced marketplace. Digital marketing has changed extensively. I regularly learn about Facebook and Instagram because they're always changing their algorithms. You've got to let people do training. You've got to let them upskill themselves. And remuneration, make sure you pay them well, because if you pay them well, you'll keep them. The process. So everyone thinks processes are for big companies, but all types of businesses need them. It's essential to define the process around buying your product or service. Clearly map these processes and stick to them to ensure customers and partners get the best experience possible. So that also includes your after sales or any returns that you have, capturing customer feedback, enhancing your product features and service features. And there should also be a strict process on how this feedback is fed back into your business to improve different elements. So if you're talking to your customers, again, I mean, lots of businesses that do really well, get the product out to market, or get their service out to market, and they basically don't go back and speak to the customers again. The role of marketing is to make sure they keep that engagement going. So you're always speaking to your customers, you're always looking for feedback. That then feeds back into your innovation, and that helps enhance the product, make it better, improve it, look for new features, or maybe look for new products. And that feeds into your business strategy. So that should always be evolving. Physical evidence. In a world where data is king, we're very lucky to be surrounded by lots of different methods and means to capture data. Although it's not good enough just to capture that data, you must analyze it to make improvements to your business. And as a minimum, everyone on this webinar should have Google Analytics on their website and be analyzing it on a monthly basis to see how it performs. It's a free tool. If you just Google Analytics, there's a whole help process on how to actually set it up if you don't already have it, or speak to your web developer and make sure that it's on your website. Some feedback on a customer I work with, they're a property management company, and we set up their website, we did a whole rebrand, we got all their social media channels set up, and we didn't set up their Google Analytics straight away. We set it up maybe a month later, and when we started to look at the analytics, we were actually seeing that most customers were engaging with their brand at 8 o'clock at night. So we rescheduled all their social media to talk to their customers at that time of the day. We still kept some during the day, but what we found was that's when we get our best engagement. So it is about looking at that analytics, looking at the feedback, looking at when people are engaging, what are they looking at? It's so important. And if in the meantime, you should be looking at gathering Google reviews, Facebook reviews. If you're a restaurant or a hotel, TripAdvisor, looking at ways people are actually talking about your brand. Read your reviews, reply to your customers who are not happy, and do everything you can to ensure your customers have an excellent brand experience. And if your customers are not happy, don't have a fight with them online, because that's on your profile for the rest of your life. Just write a nice review back to them, say you're really sorry that they're disappointed with your customer service. You can get back in touch. You would get back in touch with them and have a conversation with them this afternoon. You'll give them a phone or you'll drop them an email. So it's so important to take that whole rant offline. So there are 7 P's. So what we're going to look at now are our marketing channels. So there's lots of different channels you can use to engage your customers. But don't fall into the trap of thinking, I need to be on everything. Again, I ran a workshop to an accelerator 2 weeks ago, and I met a man who said he's on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn. He was doing email marketing, and he was keeping his website up to date on a weekly basis, but he didn't have time to actually sell his product because he was a one-man band. It's not the right thing to do. By having a really good understanding of your customers, you will know which channels they're using and where you should go to engage with them. For example, if you're targeting 50 to 60-year-old business people, they're very unlikely to choose something like Instagram as their social channel of choice. There's a misconception that all engagement now has to be online. To get a good mix of push and pull engagement, it's essential to look at the channels, from events to PR and LinkedIn to blogs. So, what do I think are the top 6 channels to consider in 2019 for your marketing strategy? I've said this a few times today, and I'm just going to say it again. Your website. People check out your website before they get in touch with you. The other thing you need to know is you've got 15 seconds to engage someone who visits your website for the first time. So it should clearly articulate what you do and what benefits that will derive for that customer. So when I hit that homepage of the website, I should know exactly what you do and why you are the brand that I want to engage with. Number 2, social media. This has become such a key element of a consumer's decision-making process in today's world, and it's highly influential. Pick the channels that your customers are already using. For example, as I said earlier on, if your customers are 30 plus and using Facebook, don't think they're going to engage with you on Instagram. Social media is an engagement platform and should be treated in that way. It's also a core search tool. So make sure you keep that in mind. People don't just search on Google, they search on social media. Email marketing is still the best way for direct response there is in a marketing world today. Users have opted in to hear from you, so they're more willing to open those messages to learn about your latest products and promotions and how they can benefit from them. But a word of warning, make sure your emails are personalized. Show your customers you're interested in them. Don't do a dear sir or a dear madam. It's, hi Anna Marie, we know that you're interested in our particular product. Here's what we've got to say. Be personalized, tell them that you know them. You'll get more engagement that way. Video is, again, growing rapidly. Particularly younger generations are engaging with video more and more. And, I'm saying younger generations, I'm talking up to about 60, 70-year-olds. People engage with video much better than still images. And in a world where YouTube and social video has so much influence, it's become an essential channel for customer engagement. I run a lot of social media campaigns, and I see a huge difference when I put on a still image compared to a moving image. So video is key. Google AdWords can ensure you list at the top of Google search for keywords, and it's critical if you're trading, particularly in a very busy marketplace. One of the things that scared me when I was doing my research and going out on my own was I noticed that the research is telling me that people don't look past the top 5 in Google. I mean, how scary is that? So you need to make sure you're at the top of Google search for your keywords. We all like a recommendation, so word of mouth will always be essential for brand awareness and building customer confidence and trust. In today's world, there are some keywords to maximize that word of mouth marketing. Those things you need to look at are reviews, incentives to buy, recommendations. You really want people talking about you. So it's a sort of a way of ensuring that your brand is the best it can be. So you now know how important marketing is for your business strategy. You know the things to look at in terms of your marketing strategy. So what we want to do now is we want to create an effective marketing plan. So the first thing that I would suggest that you do as part of this is to carry out a business SWOT to really understand your business, to pull out those challenges that your customers are facing, to pull out where your strengths are, what your USP is. Again, define your USP, and that will help to identify what differentiates your offering. And just remember, that doesn't always have to be product focused. If you have a Me Too product, your differentiation could be your customer service, it could be your warranty, it could be your the way you engage with your customer. You might offer a nice packaging process as part of what you offer. So your USP doesn't have to actually be your product or service. Know what your competition are up to and what differentiates you for them. I can't stress that enough, because that's the person, that's the organization that your customer will be looking at if they're not looking at yours. So what are you selling? Look at your features, look at your benefits, look at your reasons to buy. Look at all the elements of the 7 Ps. They may not all be relevant to you, but most of them will be. Understand your routes to market. How can someone buy your product? Is it direct? Is it via distributor? Is it e-commerce? Is it Amazon? Is it eBay? So really understand what's the best way of getting your product in front of your customer. And you can have multiple routes to market, it doesn't have to just be one. What are your communication channels? Be on the right channel that will engage your customers and create compelling content that's going to really engage them. Don't put out boring stuff. You know, marketing's all about being fun, being exciting, being different, being innovative. You know, really pull in what makes you different and use that to create really good content. Budget, set a budget for your marketing campaigns. Define how much of your turnover you're allocating to marketing. It's recommended that should be about 20% of your turnover. So don't scrimp on it if you want to be highly effective. A lot of businesses I've worked with in the past and work with now, marketing is the first thing to go. But in a world where you're struggling to get your business off the ground, marketing is key. So don't cut your marketing budget. Look at your resource. Who within your business is going to do the marketing? Have they got the time? Have they got the skills? Have they got the expertise? Or should you consider outsourcing it? Again, I meet lots of businesses that think the office manager or the office administrator, the junior, should be the person doing the marketing. Maybe they're not the right people to be able to do that. And don't think that, you might have one person doing absolutely every bit of your marketing. You might split it up between different people within your organization, but make sure you've got really strong brand values. You've got social media guidelines. You've actually got processes and policies in place. So that if there are multiple people doing it, that they all sing off the same hymn sheet. And have a plan. Know what's on your horizon. Know your key milestones. Know your external factors and pivot and build a compelling goal-driven campaign to engage your target customers. And that's going to keep you focused and on track. So we're going to have a look at how to develop your marketing plan. What you really need to consider is, what's your mission? What do you really want your business to do that this marketing plan is trying to achieve? And how does it align to your strategic marketing goals? So the way I always say to companies to set up a marketing plan is to think about it in an annual basis. Have your months of the year along the top. You can do this on a wall planner, or I just do it in in an Excel spreadsheet. Have your months of the year. What's your campaign name? So you might have November, a pre-Christmas special offer, and in January you might have a new year, new start campaign. What's your strategic aim? So what do you actually want that campaign to do? So is it leads? Is it brand awareness? Is it partner marketing? So you set your actual strategic aims of what you want that campaign to do. And then what's your goals and how you're going to measure it. So as I said earlier on, having the analytics and not using it is not going to do your business any good. So you have to be able to measure it. So for this campaign, I want to engage 1,000 new customers. I want to reach out to the 18 to 21 male target market. And I want to measure it via Instagram followers and online sales. So that's how I'm going to measure whether this campaign's been effective enough. So what do you do? What do I need to do for my website? Do I need to put a new advertising banner on my homepage? Do I need to create a new landing page? Do I need to write some blog content around it? So you think about your website and you think to yourself, well, actually, what physical content do I need to put on my website to make that campaign work? And then what social media campaigns am I going to run in tandem with that? So again, back to if it's 18 to 21 male market, I know that those guys are on Instagram, so I want to run some social media campaigns on Instagram, but I might also want to look at LinkedIn because they're professional males. So really pick your channels that engage those customers and create really good content. PR, it might be that you're an engineering company and you're going to do some work in some trade magazines, so they're looking for a press release about the campaign that you're running. You might run some advertising, so that could be offline advertising, so it might be in a magazine, or it could be online advertising, so you might promote something in an online publication. Direct mail, are you going to do some any email campaigns as part of it? Will you need some video content, or what events would you actually be going to? Not all of these are appropriate to every single campaign, so you pick the ones that are relevant. What I would say to you is, if you're going to run a campaign, start it 6 weeks in advance. So you need to create your collateral first of all, and then you get your campaign in place. And it does take 6 weeks to actually execute a really good marketing campaign. So that's your marketing plan. And I think Siobhan's got some handouts at the end to help you sort of create some of these different types of tools. So thank you for your time today. I've enjoyed sharing my knowledge. I hope you've got a lot out of it. And if there are any questions, I'd love to take them now.
Thanks, Anna Marie. So I've got a couple of questions. So I'll start off with, what is the difference between above the line marketing and below the line marketing?
Okay, so this is back to this lovely jargon that we hear quite a lot out in the industry. Um, people that are doing above the line campaigns are normally the likes of the Virgins and the Coca-Colas of this world, who have big, deep pockets, and they're brand awareness campaigns to a very wide audience. So that could be something like a radio campaign or a TV campaign or a campaign that you do in a trade magazine where you have lots of online advertising. So real big brand awareness campaigns. You can do them on social. You can do paid for campaigns on the likes of Facebook to get your brand in front of lots of target audiences. And the below the line campaigns are the opposite to that. So they're focused direct marketing, customer engagement campaigns where you're looking for conversions. So that might be an email campaign to a target audience. It could be a social campaign, again, to a target audience. It could be sales promotions that we talked about earlier on, or it could be something like a discount campaign. Okay.
So I've got another question. So it says, I'm planning to do consultancy on innovation management next year. In regards to the strong presence online, would you recommend to have a domain name under my own name, so first name and surname, or any other name, or create a brand name?
It will depend on your target market. I would create a domain name for your company name, but you see the likes of, it's interesting because you see the likes of B&Q. They actually have DIY.com because a lot of people are Googling DIY. I think if you're going to be a consultancy, unless you've got something that's very specific that people Google, I would build your brand around yourself. So if your company name is your personal name, so mine's Taylor Communications, my brand is all about Taylor Communications. That's who I am. That's how I want to engage with the world. So I would say probably your brand name.
And then, if I use volunteer work to test the service and ask for feedback, then build a price around it, would that work?
Absolutely. I met, again, in an accelerator in Glasgow, I met an organisation who has 10 volunteers working for him across all of his marketing, and he's gone out to his marketplace. He's really researched and he's really understood his target customer, and he's been able to build a really compelling service offering that really talks to his target market and engages them. Research is king, and I always say to people as well, don't do your research at the beginning and think that's it. Keep talking to your customers. It's so important to engage those customers and research with them on a regular basis. You need that feedback. You need that engagement.
So then I've got one. How much do you recommend we budget for marketing campaigns? And does this differ between services and products?
It depends on what you've got. I mean, if you had a product that you're trying to sell on an e-commerce platform and it's your own e-commerce platform, you're not selling it on Amazon or something like that, you need to put a lot of money and effort into your marketing. So you need to do a lot of paid for campaigns. You would probably need to spend a lot of money on your search engine optimization. If you have a consultancy business like the lady who said earlier on, I would probably recommend most of her marketing goes into building a website, getting a profile really good on LinkedIn, and building our presence on Twitter, because they'll be particularly if she's engaging on a business to business element, because those are the channels that will engage that particular marketplace. So you probably don't need to do a lot of paid for advertising for that, or paid for marketing for those types of campaigns. But if you're selling a product in e-commerce, you do need to put a lot of money into that. I would say 20% of your turnover should be your marketing. So it depends on how much money your business makes.
Which social media channel would you pick first? LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, or Pinterest, etc.?
Depends on your target market. So if I'm looking at business to business, I would say your key target social channel would be LinkedIn, because it's a real business to business tool, and Twitter is really good for your digital footprint. So again, I've got a company that does software for the railway industry, which is quite a nice customer to work with. Not the most exciting of industries, really hard to create compelling content. But one of the things that they wanted to do was they wanted to expand their offering into the States. And when I did some research on the business at the first instance, we found they had no digital footprint. So we've now done a lot of work on Twitter. We've really got their brand out there on Twitter, and they're now getting noticed. So they've got a piece of business from Germany, a piece of business for Australia, and they've opened some doors into the States. So Twitter's really good for that digital footprint. If you're selling a consumer product, if it's to a younger marketplace, so a lot of the beauty bloggers, or vloggers as they're called nowadays, they do a lot of work on Instagram, because Instagram's a very visual platform, so you can get imagery and video content, and really nice content across like that. But you've got to think about your target market. So people that are on Instagram are probably from the age of 14 up to about 25. But if your audience is slightly older, so if you're talking to maybe 25 up to 75-year-old, predominantly female, I would choose Facebook. So again, there's there is a profile which actually I can get Siobhan to share afterwards, and it gives you an outline of who's on which channel, what type of age groups are on it, what demographics are the people that are on it, and it is pretty accurate.
And just on that kind of note, there will be another follow-up webinar looking at social media specifically later on in the year as well. So keep your eyes on that one if you're really interested in social media channels. So back to the questions. If you have two quite separate areas of the business, how do you join them up in an overarching marketing campaign without it looking disjointed?
That's an interesting one. It really would depend on the product. It depends on your customers. You know, if you've got two products that are sold to the same customer group, they should be married under your brand. So one of the things I said as part of the presentation was understand your brand. So your brand would have probably a top level brand for your business. So it might be Taylor Communications, and I might have two products. I might have my consultancy product, and I could have my accelerator workshops, but that all sits under my brand umbrella. So who am I as Taylor Communications, and how do my two products sit together? But I would really look at my target audience. So the people I pitch my accelerator workshops at are young startups in a particular region in Scotland. But my consultancy is to anyone that wants to engage with me to do marketing strategy. So I think about my customers. So my campaigns don't always talk to the same target audience. I make sure that the people that I'm speaking to understand who I am, understand why they should engage with my particular product or service, and I create my content, my messaging to talk to that particular audience. And I might take my other campaign and talk to a different audience with different messages in a different way. But your brand umbrella should make sure that those campaigns sit nicely together so people know what you're all about as a business.
What are the key things to look for in Google Analytics?
I look at bounce rates. So that is, if you're over 70% on your bounce rates, that means that you're getting a lot of people coming to whatever page on your website you're taking them to. So quite often it's your home page. But it might be a home page, it might be a landing page, and people are bouncing off that page because they're not getting that engagement. So as I said in the presentation, you've got 15 seconds to engage somebody on your homepage. I see lots of home pages that have lots and lots and lots of content on them, and it doesn't actually tell you why you want to engage with that particular organization. So your bounce rates are one thing to have a look at. Your landing pages. So look at pages that you're specifically sending people to. So that could be your blog page, it could be your case study page, it could be your product description page, it could be a video that you have about your service, and have a look and see how long people are actually staying on that particular page. As I said earlier on, it's about timing. So when are people actually coming to your website? What sort of time are they looking at your content at? And what channels are they coming from? So one of the other things that you can look at is, what's driving your traffic to the website? Is it coming direct? Are they typing in www. and your actual URL? Are they coming in via another source? So they're coming in through Google AdWords? Are they coming in through some of your social channels? Are they coming in through some of your partners? So it's really interesting to see, so some of the design agencies, or maybe not just design agencies, but a lot of companies are listed in member resources for organizations. So I'm a member of the Chartered Institute of Marketing, so my business is listed in there, and I get some of my leads through that. So have a look at where your actual leads are coming from and your hits are coming from your website. Those are probably the key things to have a look at. You can set goals, you can set targets in Google Analytics. You can become quite geeky on Google Analytics. But I think above all, the bounce rate, the length of time people are spending on your pages, the time that people are actually visiting your website, and what channels are sending people to your website are probably the top ones.
Are there any tips or shortcuts to how we can test various marketing campaigns if the market is fragmented? And how early would you recommend we do this prior to executing the final campaign?
I would do it as early as possible. Um, have a look at your own social channels. So you can if you, Siobhan's saying that there's some help on how to use social media. One of the things you can do if your business is a business to business marketplace, you can download your contacts on LinkedIn, and you can actually have a look at who you're connected to. So you already have engagement with those particular people. And they are potentially customers of your product. I would need to know more about your business to be able to answer this in more depth, but if they are particular customers of your product, take a sample of them and create an online survey, or do a focus group, or do a questionnaire survey. People think an online survey is the answer to everything, but actually it's not. You'll get much more engagement and you'll get much more feedback if you can do face-to-face. And people, if I'm doing a face-to-face survey with someone, what I would do is possibly drop them an email, tell them I'm going to do a survey with them, give them an outline of what I'm trying to get out of that survey, and organise a time that suits them to actually do that piece of questioning. And when you have that sample information, you'll get some feedback. I worked in an innovation centre for new start tech companies for years, and we used to say to the tech companies, as soon as you have your IP in place, get out there and start talking to your customers, because there's nothing worse than launching a product out into the marketplace that the market doesn't actually want. And you spend so much time, money and effort actually doing that. So research is king.
Brilliant. That's all the questions that I've got. If there's any more questions, please let us know now. Otherwise, I will tell you about the next date for the webinar. So we've got a branding one coming up on October the 30th, again, 1 till 2 p.m. I'll send out details of how to register when I send up follow-up emails with details of this webinar in. It doesn't look like there's any more questions, so thank you very much, Anna Marie. That has been brilliant. You should all have my email address. If you don't, I will shortly be emailing you anyway. If you've got any more questions about the Building Success webinars or marketing questions in general, please let me know. So thank you all for joining.